How you going, guys? I just thought I'd do a video on some of the hammers I made and bought when I was doing body work on the Dodge. That's still here, unfortunately. I haven't sold that yet, but still working on it. So that's obviously just an old claw hammer that I bought from the local sort of hardware shop. This one here I made, and this piece here, the centre piece, was a flagpole. I think it had a couple of flags in the back of this. This was one of these. I cut this up into rings to make some of these hammers. I don't know whatever size it is, because this vehicle was used in the Variety Bash, I think, here in Tasmania in 2013, I think, somewhere around about there, for a charity event. And they had these big flagpoles bolted on the back bumper. So I cut it up and used it to make hammers. So yeah, that's what I used to make these, and I think what I did is I cut a slot out of the one side of it, and then squeezed it up together so it was a more oval, like a sort of a standard sort of hammer was, and then just welded bits and pieces, bolts and whatever, and some bits of just flat stock and made it round to make a sort of a normal body hammer, one with a ball on the end of it, so I could knock a little dents out and bits and pieces. Then I made like another one. Actually, the handle on this one, I bought a handle for this one, just a standard sort of hammer handle, and fitted that. This one here I made out of a garden stake. So I actually made the handle out of a garden stake that was holding up tomatoes and bits and pieces that was in the garden. And again, I used the same bit of flagpole or bit of pipe, whatever it was, and used some other bits and pieces and made up a head for that one to make it sort of like a body hammer that I could get in smaller areas like this that I got to work on that I didn't have a lot of room to swing. So it's that one that I made. This was just actually like a nice big flat chisel I bought for fixing some body lines and bits and pieces like that, and I used it to help me straighten out that front bumper. I bought this so I had something with a bit more weight for straightening out that front bumper when I was doing it on this, and just to help, because it's quite heavy gauge steel. Like it's probably, I don't know what it'd be like. It'd be 2 or 3 mil thick, I'm guessing. 2 mil, 3 mil thick. Yeah. Let's have a look. This is a back bumper. Like you can sort of get the gist of it. Like it's fairly heavy, so it needed something a bit more force, since I didn't have a lot of heat, just to try and help straighten it out in places. So a combination of that, and then body hammers and all sorts of things to beat it in submission, and it came in handy for doing other things, obviously. This was a bit of old railway iron. I actually noticed that the railway irons in the States must be way bigger than this, but this is what they use here in Australia, and I think in New Zealand too. I think it looks very similar. Whereas I think Arco's got a piece and it looks like that's way bigger and heavier. So that was just a slice. It was actually sitting out front of work because there's a railway track sitting there, but I've used that heaps for bits and pieces and just putting in behind pieces, and it's been a real handy little piece that I picked up one day just lying out the front of work. Well, they must have done some repairs at some stage or replaced the piece, and they just trimmed a bit off, and it was just sitting there. So I grabbed that one day thinking, oh, that'll be handy for shaping stuff. So these 3 red-handled ones I bought in a body hammer kit that was really, really cheap from the local auto parts store. I think it was $40 or $50 or something. They're pretty light, but they're not bad. I've used them heaps. They weren't terribly well finished. I must admit that. Like, I have seen similar sets and they've been a lot better finished. Like these are very, very pitted, very rough. I cleaned them up a lot, but they're still very, very pitted and ugly, but they were better than nothing. I cleaned this one up fairly well, but as you can see on the inside of it, it's still pretty rough, but it did the trick for what I needed to do. You know, I spent quite a bit of time trying to get this one reasonable because it was handy. Same with this one, but the flat side's so bad, like you'd have to make it quite a lot thinner to even make it usable. Like if I had a big belt sander or something like that, I probably would have run it on there for a while and let it flatten out. So yeah, it's these ones. This was a really rough spoon I made out of a bit of flat stock, and I actually it might have been, and I actually used the original, one of the original bent up bonnet hinges or hood hinges off this to help make this, to give this a bit of guts when I was sort of first playing around trying to find something to help straighten out panels. So I made that. This piece was actually part of it that I cut off and used as a dolly for a long time. I actually find this is quite handy, but I was always going to weld a bit of flat stock on the back of it and fill it in and make it a bit nicer to hold, but it was actually really handy for holding in behind things, but it's just not quite thick enough. But it's just come out very handy. And it's amazing what you can make out of junk just to get you by, instead of spending, you know, heaps and heaps and heaps on body hammers and stuff like this. This was another one I made, same principle, the same bit of pipe, and this is just bits of flat stock that I just shaped and all those sorts of things, and try to get a little bit of heat in the end of them so they're a little bit harder, so it wouldn't go out of shape too quick. This one here was another body hammer that I made out of, I'm trying to think, actually out of a bit of a tie lever that I cut and bent, and this was a bit of flat stock, I think, just a bit of flat bar, and I welded on the end of it. That works quite good. It's a bit heavy, but it's quite good. I used the crap out of both of these, to be honest. I didn't buy one. I was going to buy one. I got one over home. Well, it's actually Dad's, but got one over home that's got like the file hatching in it, and that's quite good for straightening out stuff and flattening out, but I was going to buy one of them, but I didn't bother in the end. And this is what my hate made that handle out of. A bit of this. I got a suspicion I got another hammer somewhere. I can't locate it, with everything all over the place. I'm sure I made another hammer. I'm sure I made more than 3. I know I've got this one here, which I was going to use this handle for, but I never actually ended up using it. I made it to try and get in deep into some of those shitty spots and some of the body panels that you couldn't really get into, to like sort of push out some of those shitty bits in the front guards and stuff, but I never ended up using it. But it's something that I'm, you know, like if I was staying here, like I probably could have modified and kept and whatever. So that's the sort of the hammers that I used. That's what I bought for a start off, and just made it. And then when I seen Arco making some hammers, I thought, screw it, I'll just make some, instead of buying some. And then I picked these up. I think about the same time I was making these, picked up these, so I had a few dollies. So this is pretty much what I made, panel beated that with. Bloody son. But anyway, it's a bit of a short video on what I used, what I made. So yeah, I'd actually like to try and keep these two and throw them in the bag, but I just don't know how I'll go with getting them through an airport, flying internationally. Like, they'd probably be okay in the main luggage that goes underneath the plane, but I just don't know, when I go through customs they might get a bit towy. It's strange with stuff like that. They class it as a weapon. I just don't know how I'd go through with things like that. Maybe the body spoons, I don't know. Like, it's a real bummer. Like, the only other thing I could probably think of was mailing them, but it's probably not worth it. But I actually wouldn't have mind taking these ones back to New Zealand and just left my gear over there, because I've used the crap out of those. You know, and I probably even would take these too, but I just don't know whether I'll get them through customs, if you know what I mean. But anyway, it's a quickish video on body hammers and dollies that I used to fix the Dodge that I made, and a couple that I bought. Cheers.